Hello and welcome. We're joined today by a couple of Super Bowl champs, Greg Jennings and Eric Davis. Let's start in Denver, where the Broncos defense got rocked for the second week in a row, with Tom Brady dropping 41 on what used to be the most dominant unit in the league, the no-fly zone. The Patriots have now won 5 in a row, but that wasn't the only streak to stay alive this week. The Saints notched their 7th straight win, dominating the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, 47-10. Cowherd, who had the more impressive road victory yesterday, New England or New Orleans?
New England, because what we're seeing now is Gretzky in hockey and Michael Jordan in basketball. Brady has separated from the sport. Breeze is having a good year. He's not carrying that team. That running game and defense are. Big Ben's having a nice year. That's Le'Veon Bell's team. Tom Brady with Rex Burkhead. Oh, they just had a Martellus Bennett off the street. You got Amendola is, I guess, your go-to guy. He's doing it with movable, changeable parts. He's amenable to change. Joe Montana is the second-best quarterback ever. Remember, this is close.
After Elway.
Well, he's not in the discussion. Let's look at these numbers. This is the second-best quarterback to Tom. It ain't close. And Tom's got 2 years. So those playoff wins put him at 30, 70,000.
Two different leagues.
Different games. Yeah,
Bill Walsh, Jerry Rice.
If you're just going to go with the numbers, though, it was a different game. The way you played the game, the yardage, the rules, it was just different.
I just want to go back to the beginning. More impressive road win, Patriots or Saints?
Winning at Buffalo, when's that ever been hard?
You turned it into a Tom Brady discussion.
Exactly.
I'm turning it back into the New Orleans Saints just went on the road in Buffalo against a very good defense and ran it down their throats. 2 running backs in the league rushed for 100 yards over the weekend. Both of them play for New Orleans. New Orleans defensively looked impressive again. Drew Brees, to me, no, he's not carrying them the way Tom Brady is.
Thank you.
But he's doing something that is completely sustainable. So, to me, New Orleans, 7 straight, this is coming from out of nowhere. I already knew the New England Patriots were going to be good and a Super Bowl threat. They won it last year. Impressive is the Saints, like, announcing, we are for real.
Listen, so you're saying the best quarterback ever went on the road and won a game. Okay. Then listen to what both of you guys just said. The Saints are being led by their defense. The Saints go on the road and give up 10 points. That defense, that was the worst defense in the history of ever, okay, just a few years ago. And I mean, they were a perennial get-right team. Offenses, you know it. You wanted to see the Saints because you knew you could get your numbers up.
Absolutely.
And now they can run the ball. They can play defense. And, oh, by the way, Drew Brees is still pretty good on offense. So you got a top 3 offense and a top 5 defense. That's how the Saints won the Super Bowl before.
Greg,
that's impressive.
One guy left to make sense, Greg.
You're by yourself, man. You're all alone. I'm with the Saints on this one because when I look at this and I see 41 minutes of time of possession, that's almost 3 full quarters of football. We got the ball, you don't. This is how effective they were in the run game. And when we think about the Saints, what they're doing, you talked about being sustainable. This is sustainable. The fact that they have a great coach, they have a great quarterback, they have now what we are starting to see, a great defense who's allowed 12 points per game in the last 4 weeks. This is sustainable. They don't have to rely on just their passing game, which is what they've been in years past, even when they were successful.
Yeah, because, you know, Brady's not sustainable. This stuff's going to run out. Yeah, I mean, Brady is just,
That's not what you flipped a Brady discussion. Brady is great.
Okay,
we'll give you that.
I got checkmate for him. Did you think the Patriots are going to beat Denver?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you think the Saints were going to beat Buffalo?
No.
I can go to your Blazing 5.
No.
You picked the Bills. And it was 47-10. They controlled that game from start to finish.
Absolutely.
I'm sitting here like blown away. Drew Brees is, again, he's not playing at Brady's level because he's not being asked to. And he doesn't have to.
He didn't need to.
Brady wishes he had this running game in this defense.
Isn't anybody else amazed? Martellus Bennett was in town. I don't think he practiced. And he was
Yes, he lied to get on that team. He smeared the Green Bay Packers. Oh, my shoulder's hurt. And then he goes over to New England.
And walks over to New England, doesn't practice, and you watch them. Like, it's just movable parts. Guys in Cincinnati,
That's what they do.
Well,
The Saints don't play defense. That's not what they do.
Hi guys, Colin Cowherd here. Before the show moves along, I wanted to talk to you about Freshly. So you've tried all the meal kits out there. 30 minutes turns into 60, and all of a sudden you realize you're actually paying to do all the work. With Freshly, those days are over. It's a weekly prepared meal service that delivers fresh, never frozen, 100% all-natural meals. Developed by their team of chefs and nutritionists. They're fully cooked. All you have to do, heat them up. Each meal ready in only 3 minutes. No more worrying about what's for dinner. No shopping, no chopping, no cleanup. Also, no artificial ingredients, preservatives, or added sugar. Delivery and takeout places are hit and miss. Why run the risk when you can have guaranteed quality meals with Freshly? Freshly makes it easy, no dishes to worry about. Be happy to get back an hour every day. Try Freshly today. Get $40 off your first 2 deliveries. Just go to freshly.com/Fox Sports. That's 6 meals for only $39 for 2 weeks. It's Freshly's best offer ever. Only valid for a limited time. Head to freshly.com/Fox Sports or enter the code Fox Sports at checkout. Shipping is always free. How cool is that? Now let's get back to the show. To Atlanta, where the Cowboys had to play their first game of the year without Ezekiel Elliott. Not great. Not great at all. Dallas got dominated both sides of the ball, with the team's backup running backs combining for just 65 yards. While the Falcons defensive end Adrian Claiborne, oh Lord, sacked Dak Prescott 6 times. Whitlock, are you ready to write off the Zekeless Cowboys after that
Why don't we
mess?
keep talking about Zeke when it was the left tackle being out that shut the entire team down? Smith. They had me out there playing left tackle this weekend and gave up 8 sacks. That was, and I'm not even going to hold the mic long because I'm going to give Eric Davis credit for saying Jason Garrett can't coach.
Thank you.
They left this left tackle out there like he was Tyron Smith.
How did you know I was going there? Because this is not Zeke. This is not Dak. You still had that offensive line. You know that Tyron Smith is not playing. You have an entire week to put a game plan together, and your game plan is let's just keep doing what we do and hope it works. You have one of the best, if not the best, out of the game. You have to find a way to coach to make that better. And this guy, I keep saying it, he is star dependent, Jason Garrett. If his stars saved him, if they don't do it, he's not going to coach you out of that paper sack and help you out. So they are going to have problems right now until some of those guys come back.
You know what? I'm with you on that. I'm not ready to write them off because I think they can win without Ezekiel Elliott out there. But to your point, you had all week, but then you had actual visible evidence during the game
This doesn't work.
that this ain't working. Make the adjustments at least at halftime.
Yeah.
You never made an adjustment. That's what separates a good coach and not even a good coach. The great coaches, they are willing to make an in-game right now adjustments. They don't even have to wait to halftime. We see you have problems. We see mentally you're out of it right now. You're getting beat. You're getting mollywopped. I'm with you. It's no need to even hold the mic long.
Some of this, though, the LA Rams are the healthiest team in the league. They look like the best team. Dallas is missing Sean Lee, left tackle, quarterback. Isn't some of this a burn?
You know, can I do
running
this
back?
this
This
time,
is a burn the
Last
tape
time
game.
you dropped checkmate. Okay, Bella, we just talked about what happens in New England. They're never healthy. They lose players all the time. And that coaching staff adjusts to make certain that who is on the field can be at their optimal best. Jason Garrett, and so if you say, are they done? This is a team that had Super Bowl aspirations. They are not going to win the Super Bowl if they are dependent on Jason Garrett making the adjustments to get him there when he can't see a guy getting his tail handed to him on the field right in front of him, as Greg just said, and he can't make the adjustments. They are not going to do it.
It was mind-blowing because, you know, this Claiborne that had all these sacks, he had 2 coming into the game. He's not J.J. Watt. He's not Clowney. He's a guy that was annihilating your backup left tackle, and you had to chip. You had to give this guy some help and adjust your game plan and help out your quarterback, and they couldn't do it. They waited too long.
Do you think less of Dak this morning?
No, I think less of Jason Garrett, and I think with, if they don't get this left tackle back, I don't even know if it matters. Philly's so far out in front, and the NFC is so competitive that Dallas may play well and get to 10 victories and not make the playoffs.
The thing that bothered me was, and I've only ever seen once or twice in my life. I remember Arizona about 10 years ago. Matt Leinart was on the team. They went to New England, it snowed, and it got really out of hand, and I was like, oh, Arizona quit. I don't think athletes quit. I hate the word choke. I hate the word quit. But, man, the effort on the Cowboys in the second half, like you could just see defensive players not running out things. Like that's what worries me, that Jason Garrett is not even capable of elevating athletes. Like it'd be great if everybody's self-motivated. That's not the way the world works. Like they didn't look like they played hard.
It ain't even about elevating. It's just being to sustain the effort. If you don't have faith in the game plan.
Yes, there you go.
That's when you start.
This is not college. You're dealing with pros. So guess what? I know when you are setting me up for failure as a pro. Because they studied the film.
I'm going to have an opinion about it.
That's right. I know when what you're telling me about these X's and O's, I know when it doesn't work. And if you keep telling me the same thing, run out there and let's just play harder. Well, he's just got sacked 8 times. Let's just play harder. No, coach, we have to adjust. And if you don't do that, I lose faith in what you're saying.
Playing on the road, again, they did not quit. If anybody quit, it's the guys on the sidelines. I don't even know if they got started.
Let's not. This is an Atlanta team that had their lowest offensive output of the year. So let's not say this was Atlanta being great. It's not like Atlanta was great. They weren't.
All right, welcome back. Greg Jennings is back, and we're joined now by former NFL player and NFL scout Bucky Brooks to Atlanta, where the Falcons kept their playoff hopes alive yesterday, making it look easy against the Ezekiel Elliott-less Cowboys. Matt Ryan was able to move the ball at will, while the defense shut down Dallas's running game and notched 8 sacks, including a record 6 by Adrian Claiborne. Cowherd, do you think the Falcons are back on track?
Back on track for what? To utterly disappoint their fans when they go to Seattle in a week and get clobbered? No, they had a season-low output in offense. Dallas missed the best left tackle in the game, the best running back in the game, and along with Luke Kuechly, maybe the most valuable linebacker in the game. I don't think Dallas was particularly well coached, as Greg pointed to earlier. No, this was not a Atlanta's back. This was a Dallas was beat up, with superstar players out, and they're not the same football team.
But winning has a momentum of its own. And so it is the path to getting back on track. Anytime you beat the Cowboys and you get, hey, we beat the Cowboys, and so what, they had some injuries. That will give you some confidence. Atlanta desperately needed some confidence. Matt Ryan and Steve Sarkisian still aren't on the same page. The offense still isn't on the same page. But again, they got a nice victory against the Cowboys. That'll give them some confidence. They needed their defense to perform. Okay. Maybe this Claiborne, Dontarie Poe had a decent game for Atlanta.
You really think that's sustainable?
Not sustainable. Momentum starts somewhere, and confidence starts somewhere.
You know where it ends?
Success.
You know where it ends? In the rain in Seattle in a week.
It's a different Seattle team, so I don't know if it necessarily ends there. I think when you're looking at the Falcons, the defense responded. And I think this is the way the defense was built. Their defense was built to play with a lead. That's why they have pass rushes. That's why they play the coverage. They play in the back end. It was predicated on their offense being able to score points. That offense is still trying to come around. But when you see Adrian Claiborne get sacked, when you see the other guys that they have on the front line begin to get penetration, that is how they win. That's how they create turnovers. That is how they have to play. So, yes, it's a building block. It doesn't mean they're all the way back, but it could be a nice start for them to go on a little run.
I think it's a building block, yes, because they got the win. But I am completely not sold on the Falcons simply because they got teams within their own division that they will struggle with outside of Seattle, who they have upcoming. And more than that, Matt Ryan, for me, when you have a quarterback that just coming off an MVP season has probably one or two, number one or number two, top receiver in the game, and you pretty much go to everybody else, you treat him as one of the guys. I have a problem with that. When Julio Jones provides a matchup situation every single time he's on the field, regardless of who's across from him. And with Matt Ryan supposedly being an elite quarterback, just spreading the ball around, I don't have a problem with that. But the lack of attention that he gives to his own player in Julio Jones, he can't do that. That's not sustainable. That's why they don't have as much success. You got to get Julio
You don't blame
Jones
the
more.
play caller.
I was going to say
more?
that has to be the play caller, right?
No. This is why I don't blame the play caller, because as a quarterback, sometimes you have to be able to go off script and say, look, yes, this is the play, but this is my guy. This is who I got. This is a matchup situation. Going to the line of scrimmage, you see that, and he doesn't do that.
And by the way, Matt's been in this league a long time. I'm watching guys like Deshaun Watson is in this league for an hour, and you're like, whoa, Goff. Like, Matt's been in this league 7 years. Sometimes you have to go to a coordinator and say, fella, you've been here an hour. I've been here 7 years in Atlanta. I'm going to tell you where I'm going to throw the football.
Yeah, no, listen, I agree with you there. You've always been down on Matt or saying, hey, he's not elite. I think the proof is starting to show that you're right, because an elite quarterback would have said to Sarkis, hey, man, I get it, but this guy over here is special, Julio Jones, and he would, even if coverage is dictating, he's still going to find a way, because coverage can't stop Julio Jones, in my opinion.
No, see, but that's why I go back to the coordinator. The coordinator should have on his list a sweet spot of 5 or 6 plays where you can get the ball to number 11. And so regardless of whether Matt is supposed to deviate or go off script, the play caller has to be aware that Julio Jones hasn't touched the ball for a quarter. We need to get him the rock. He's our best player on offense. I think that's a Sarkisian thing. I can't put that on Matt Ryan, because the play caller should know how to get the best players involved to keep them engaged in the game.
By the way, Edelman's not the player of Julio Jones. Everybody knows Brady on third downs going to Edelman. He still gets it to him. I mean, at some point, I mean, Gronk, I understand physically, is just impossible. But Edelman's a tiny guy, and Welker was a tiny guy, and it's like, to me, Julio Jones is fast, strong, can catch in crowds, separate. It drives.
I didn't like going with a college guy as the play caller.
You never did.
In the NFL.
You never did.
That's a mistake.
To Indianapolis, where the Steelers' offense was shut down for most of the game. Boy, this was ugly. They were able to mount a fourth-quarter comeback to get the win over the Colts. Pittsburgh now has won 4 straight, tied with New England, best record in the AFC. Even still, Big Ben just hasn't looked like himself for the last several weeks. Near the bottom of the league in passer rating, completion percentage, interceptions since week 3. Whitlock, is Big Ben still good enough to lead this team to the Super Bowl?
Ben Roethlisberger has been my favorite player in the NFL for a number of years. He wears number 7. I'm a John Elway homer groupie. I'm not from there, but I'm a big John Elway guy. And anybody that plays like Elway, I love. Big Ben is not elite anymore. He's not the same guy. Yep. And I look at Drew Brees and Tom Brady, 2 guys who in their 30s or early 30s, late 20s, started really taking care of themselves and their bodies, and how they're aging so well. I don't know if Big Ben has taken care of himself so that he can play at a high level at 34, 35 years old. He's not elite anymore, and they got lucky to win this game in Indianapolis yesterday. I don't think he's good enough to take him to the Super Bowl.
I noticed it last year. Like you, I loved him. I started watching games last year, and Bucky, you watch tape, and Greg, you do, but he skipped a ball here, he overthrew a guy, and I remember just thinking, okay, I know it's Big Ben, let's get past that whole thing. And last year, I think when you start missing on accuracy, on intermediate end, it's either mechanics, it's fear, but he's got a running game, he's got great receivers, they're open. Last year was the first time I saw him miss open receivers. Those are duck soup for a great quarterback. Like, great quarterbacks miss guys, they don't miss open guys. Last year, to your point, I was like, wow, these people are open. Antonio Brown's almost always open, and he couldn't hit him.
When Martavis Bryant spoke up, he got a lot of flack because people were saying, oh, he's whining, he's being selfish. But when you look at the numbers, Big Ben is one of the worst deep ball passes in the league this year. Martavis Bryant is a vertical receiver. And so all the excitement that we had about the Pittsburgh Steelers coming into the season was because of all the weapons that they have. For the weapons to be effective, Big Ben has to change the way he plays. He has to become more of a managerial type playmaker from the pocket. Let those guys do the dirty work for him. He's still trying to take on what he was as a young player, trying to do everything, trying to extend plays and push it down the field. If he'll just allow those guys to work, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith, Martavis Bryant, they're still good enough to get there. The reason I'm encouraged about the Steelers being able to get to the Super Bowl, their defense is legit. Their defense is number one in total defense, number 2 in scoring defense. So now, if the offense changes the way they play a little bit, don't take as many risks, don't turn the ball over, take advantage of the opportunities that are there, they absolutely can win. But Big Ben is going to have to embrace that style, and he hasn't shown that he really can do that consistently.
Yeah. I'm with you 100%. I'm still sold on Big Ben because I think he can get it done. But his style has to change. This is no longer Ben win the game for us. This is hand the ball to Le'Veon Bell. We're going to run the ball 30-plus times a game. We're going to ask you to pass the ball 25 or less times a game. Your attempts will be down, but you'll be more efficient. Our offense will be more balanced. And this is how we win ball games. When you see them win and when you see them win big, it's because they've handed the ball off to Le'Veon Bell and he has 25-plus carries in their wins, with the exception of the first game of the season. That's their proven batter of success.
You know, I got to give the Steelers credit. It's a little off topic, but their defense is terrific. They drafted well. Is there an organization in the NFL that drafts receivers better than Pittsburgh? I mean, you can go back to Hines Ward, Juju Smith-Schuster. Bryant can play. Antonio Bryant. I mean, Santonio Holmes.
Absolutely.
Plaxico Burress.
Emmanuel Sanders.
I've never seen an organization that has mastered a position like the Steelers and wide receivers.
The Steelers have always prided themselves on having the best organization and the best scouting department in football.
It's good on the perimeter.
It shows up. I think it shows up across the board.
Yeah.
They don't make a lot of mistakes.
They do not.
But Big Ben, loved you, but not anymore. All right, to Washington, D.C., where the Vikings stayed hot yesterday, taking down the Redskins 38-30. It was Teddy Bridgewater's first game active in over a year, but he didn't sniff the field. With Case Keenum putting up 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, Keenum's been surprisingly effective this year, but head coach Mike Zimmer now says he won't name a starter for this Sunday until later in the week. Cowherd, are you taking the Vikings seriously?
Absolutely, no question, but they don't have any stars. If you ask the average NFL fan who even likes the game, and you said, who the 5 best players for the Vikings, you get Stephon Diggs. Does Adrian Peterson still play for them?
I literally had to think that.
Yeah, I mean, they are just one of these teams like the Astros before the playoffs. Now we know the Astros. But unless you lived in Houston, the national dialogue is, yeah, they got good young players, Altuve. Minnesota's just really good with a bunch of really good players. None of them have posters or shoe deals. But when I watched Minnesota, that game in Washington yesterday, it wasn't close for it was really they pushed a very good a Washington team that won in Seattle, won in LA. It's the first time I've watched Washington this year get pushed around for most of that game. So I think Minnesota, you know, I mean, we live in a world where more people know the Packers backup, Brett Hundley, than know the 3rd best player on the Vikings because the Packers are a big franchise and Aaron Rodgers got replaced.
Issue, though, Colin.
What?
They don't know who their quarterback is based off the head coach right now saying we're not going to announce until later in the week. They don't have Sam Bradford, Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater. None of them are under contract next year. They've got some hopes and a draft pick tied up in Teddy Bridgewater. Clearly, they're sitting there saying, damn, if we don't play him this year, how can we offer him a contract extension? Are we just going to let him go? And they may be stuck with Case Keenum, who I actually like. Case Keenum is playing much better than I ever anticipated.
He has an expiration date on it.
That's what I think, too.
Come on. He's going to turn into a pumpkin eventually.
But again, but you're 9-10 games into the season, and you're going to bring Teddy Bridgewater
I'm not
off?
saying you pull the plug. I think with the Minnesota Vikings, they're one of the few teams that are not solely dependent on the quarterback. The surrounding pieces are really, really good. The defense is outstanding. Mike Zimmer does a great job of keeping those guys in the mix, and they'll be engaged. I think their 2 wide receivers quietly are one of the best combinations that you'll see.
Yep.
Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, they get it done. Kyle Rudolph in the middle of the field, they control it. The thing about the quarterback, Case Keenum, he played well, but he also had some hiccups. Can he avoid reverting back to the Case Keenum that we all know? Pat Shermer has done a great job of building this offense. We'll see if Teddy Bridgewater plays. But if they keep winning games, I think Zimmer has to keep Keenum in the mix, and they deal with Bridgewater down the road.
I don't know. I lean toward Bridgewater. I mean, how do you feel? Case Keenum, 4th team, I believe, in 6 seasons, okay? 9 TDs, 12 picks last year. This is a journeyman. That's what he is. Now he's going to be looking over his shoulder at the guy everybody loves. The media making a big deal out of Bridgewater coming back. I would start Bridgewater this week against a Rams defense. Remember, 28th, I believe, in sacks, 24th in interceptions. They're not a great defense. I know you like the Rams a lot. Their defense is not great. There's a chance here for Bridgewater in a big spot to come in and start.
I think it's,
you got to outscore the Rams.
Yeah.
And I don't know if dusting off Teddy Bridgewater means I'm outscoring the Rams.
But you brought up a point on my show today that I think is a real point, is that, you see this in baseball, where the guys come into the league, first time around, people throw them a diet of fastballs. Then everybody gets tape on the hitter. Second time around the league, the average drops. Case Keenum, expiration date.
It's coming. It's coming. I mean, we know what he is in the league. Let's say he's a high-end backup. He's not a long-term starter. And right now, it's been good. They dropped some picks the other day. There should have been picks. They had 2 go the other way for the Redskins. How long can he continue to play like that? The one thing that plays well in his favor, he gets the ball out. He allows his playmakers on the outside to do work. And as long as he plays like that, he's going to be fine. He can't forget who he is.
By the way,
he try to be something that he's not.
He did make a couple of bad throws late.
Yes.
The one off the back foot that got picked. I mean, he got exposed a little bit late.
I've seen, and Bucky has seen this before. He just doesn't remember.
Rich Gannon, Elvis Gerbach.
Yeah, Rich Gannon.
And I agree with you. Like, you ride Case Keenum until it runs out. But when you get to a certain point in the season, you have to say, Case Keenum is that guy, because it's not going to be enough time to get Teddy Bridgewater ready for when it changes in the playoffs. You're absolutely right, because we messed it up in Kansas City with Rich Gannon and Elvis Gerbach.
And Rich Gannon ended up going on late in his career to become a great quarterback. I'm not saying that's going to happen to Case Keenum, but I'm saying it can happen. And I just wonder if I'm the Rick Spielman and the Vikings front office, if I've got this draft pick invested in Teddy Bridgewater, will they make the decision from up high? We want Teddy on the field before it's too late, if that's the pressure. Because if I'm Mike Zimmer, there's no debate about who I'm starting against the Rams. Case Keenum's going to be motivated. The Rams ran him out, and he's playing relatively well.
Yeah.
There's no question.
But we're also seeing a Denver Broncos team right now. You guys are watching the Broncos, where the quarterback situation is so murky and ugly that you've lost the defense. That defense is now getting shredded multiple weeks in a row. Do you want to run the risk of starting Keenum? Couple bad picks, they're in a hole, and then the defense, and then you kind of lose.
Put up 38 points or something this weekend.
That's one game against a tired Redskins team. I mean, I would go Bridgewater.
Look,
I would.
I can't believe I'm saying it, but
go ahead, say it.
He has played well enough that I was like, well, hell, they have no choice but to keep him out there.
They have to keep him in. You can't pull him out the lineup. Where he is right now, coming off the performance that he just had, even though he had the 2 interceptions, he's played well enough to be the starter. And unless he has 2 monumental meltdowns, I can't see removing him and keeping the credibility within the locker room.